Hello, and welcome back to Model Railroading 101. I'm John, and today I'm going to talk to you more about operating sessions. Our last episode was an introduction to informal operations on model railroads. We took a look at the car card ops at the Carquinez Model Railroad Society in Crockett, California. In this episode, I'm going to show you another club layout that I've been lucky enough to operate on. It's called Silicon Valley Lines. They're in downtown San Jose in California here. One of the dispatch styles covered in our initial episode with Seth Newman was called DTC, or Direct Traffic Control. This style is most easily identifiable by its use of a dispatcher who communicates directly with train operators while using some form of tracking system to monitor where every train is out on the layout. The dispatcher grants authority to trains to occupy specific stretches of track. Once a train comes to the end of the authorized run, it releases the track it just passed over back to the dispatcher and must get authority to proceed further on its way, once again, from the dispatcher. So Silicon Valley Lines uses such a system. The form of DTC you'll see in this program is a little less formal than some others you might encounter on private layouts. And they run it this way to be more friendly toward beginners and new people coming in to try for the first time. I'd like to set you up now with some of the layout's features using some of the concepts from our introductory episode in which Seth Newman talked about a layout having a story, a purpose, a transportation plan, and that kind of thing. The layout at Silicon Valley Lines is freelanced. That means it's a purely fictional layout, and it doesn't represent a railroad from any real life scenario. This layout is populated with industries that exist strictly for operational interest. As such, they're served by some of the trains that run during the op session. The transportation plan may vary from session to session, and the dispatcher is responsible for all traffic out on the line. This includes instructing lower priority trains to yield to higher priority ones and warning mainline trains about local jobs that might be working in a specific area where the mainline trains have to traverse. They have to watch out for switchers in case they happen to be occupying the main when the main train is coming through. The sessions at SVL also utilize yardmasters. These yardmasters are in charge of breaking up arriving trains and assembling consists for departing trains, including mainline runs and locals. Some trains originate in yards, and some originate in staging areas. So let's head out to SVL and get started.
690, you can follow down behind 802, so proceed with caution.
We start our session in the dispatch office. Rich Murphy is at the controls, getting some of the trains on the layout underway. Murph uses a computerized system for keeping track of all the trains on the layout. The computer allows Murph to assign blocks and grant authority to trains to occupy specific areas.
So what I've done here is I've got 802 lined into the main line run there. 801 goes to the siding. Then we'll do the dance there, presuming that 801 and 802 aren't too long.
He also has a stack of printed switch lists and FRS two-way radios to give to arriving train operators. A switch list contains information about the train each operator is supposed to run, including the power for the train and the cars in the consist. Once an operator goes out to the layout, he or she checks in with the yardmaster for trains that originate in yards, or with the dispatcher for trains that originate in staging.
Requesting permission to head north towards Silicon.
320, I'm giving you authority all the way through to Silicon.
During very busy sessions, there may also be an assistant dispatcher helping out with the switch lists and radio assignments. Everything starts and ends here, So arriving operators check in before heading to the layout. I've picked up my radio and my switch list, so let's go out to the layout and get started. I got a train, and it's a very simple order. I'm going to be taking a train from a staging yard that's just to my lower right here off screen, and it's just going to go out onto the main line for about 20 or 30 feet up the helix. It's going to come back this direction and end up in this yard that's to my right on the main part of the layout. So it's a pretty simple one, but it'll show you how we do this. The first thing I had to do was I had to acquire the locomotive, and I'm using Y throttle. So once I have my locomotive entered into Y throttle, I'm going to turn the light on and test the sound and make sure I got the right one. And we'll go out to the main line after that. So at this point, I'm just bringing the train out onto the main line out of that staging yard that it was just in. And once it gets to the point where it's about to come onto the main line, then I need to call the dispatcher and get permission to enter the main line. This is train 235-2. Calling dispatch.
Good, 235-2.
I have the train positioned at Kaus. I'm wanting to enter the main line.
So, oh, KS, okay. Hang on, gotta get 215 by you first.
10-4. So there's another train coming on the main line, and I'm having to wait for that train to come through. So this is all Murph figuring out where everything is from the dispatcher's office. So my train's over here under the freeway, and the other train that we're waiting for is coming around the corner right now, and it's going to enter the helix before I can get on there. So that train is now clear, and there's one of two things I can do. If I'm feeling impatient, I can call the dispatcher and say, hey, that train just went by, can I get on the main line now? Or I can wait for the dispatcher to realize what happened and say, okay, you're clear now. So I'm just going to wait, because I don't feel like being pushy right now. It turns out that another train headed the opposite direction was given priority over my train, and because this is a single-track main on the approach to the helix, I'm instructed to wait a little longer. We ended up having to wait for a couple of trains, actually, because the helix was all backed up with a bunch of traffic. So now this train's going the opposite direction. Once this train's gone, I'll be able to get into the helix and take the train that I'm running here up to the yard where it has to go. 235, Section 2 to dispatch. It's just like a real railroad. You have to wait a lot. This is a particularly busy op session here, so there's quite a few people, quite a few trains on the layout, and quite a few people here. So, but this is what makes it fun. You're not just running the train from point A to point B. You got to wait. You got to do stuff. It's pretty cool, and it's not terribly complicated. 235, Section 2 to the top of the loop. A few moments later, I am granted authority to move my train to the top of the loop. So right now, my train is in this helix, and I have authority to the top of the loop, which is what the dispatcher said, and that's right here. So when the train comes out of the helix, I'm going to stop here, and then I'm going to call him again and say, okay, I'm at the top of the loop. What do you want me to do, or what can I do? And I'm looking up the line right now, and I can see that there's another train waiting in the next block to enter the yard that I have to go to. So if that train's not gone by the time my train gets here, I'll probably have to wait for him. I see it's moving now, so it'll probably be gone by then. But we'll wait here until the train reaches this point. So this is our train coming out of the helix. There are signals on the layout here. I don't know if you can see this, but this is where I need to stop, because this is the point where the train won't be in the way if another train going the opposite direction needs to use that switch. So now that I've arrived at the place that I have clearance to, I can call the dispatcher and let him know, and if there's room for me to continue, he'll let me know at that point. So I'll call him now. 235 Section 2 to dispatch.
Go ahead, 235-2.
We've reached the top of the loop and would like to proceed to the yard limits if that's okay.
235-2, please hold at the top of the loop.
So obviously something's happening. It's a single track main ahead of where I am, so I'm going to have to wait until the next block is clear. I've been waiting here for quite a while now, and I just got word from the dispatcher that it's okay to go. So guess what? So I'm at the yard limits, and if this signal had been green, I'd be able to continue, but it's red, so I'm going to stop here, and you'll notice there's a phone right here. So I'm going to call the yard master and find out if I can come in. So there it goes. Here we go. Hi, you have a train 235 Section 2 waiting at the limit. Okay, thank you. We'll watch for the green light. So the yardmaster, Wayne, told me that he's working on something, and when the light turns green, it's okay to go. So we wait some more. I finally got the green signal to enter the yard, so I turned on my bell, because that's going into the yard, and I'm going into the yard now, and I'll talk to the yard master when I enter the yard and release the train to him. Then I'll let the dispatcher know that I'm done, I've arrived, and I'm releasing the train, and then I'm going to go punch out my switch list and file it back in the dispatch office to let everybody know here that it's done. So I'm just about to where I need to be, and I'm going to release the train in the yard now to the yard master. I just called into the dispatcher to let him know that I've released the train to the yard master. The run is done, and I'm going to punch my Dealy Bob out and go file it in the dispatch office. Then we have something fun and special to do after that, so stick around. Okay, so I told you there was something special. You know who this guy is. He's the guy with the wine, also known
with no wine.
Well, no wine this time, but that's because we're operating heavy machinery.
That's true.
Yeah, so something I wanted to mention is if you're new to something like this, or maybe you're gone to a layout for the first time, it would help to have someone who operates there regularly to maybe team up with, so that you can get your handheld through the first time through. So,
or get lost together.
That would work too.
Yeah, that works too.
Yeah. So we're going to run a train. It's a very simple run. It's from one end of the layout to the other, or to the other yard. and I guess you're going to make me drive it? Or
Yeah, because that way you can experience the thrill of the drawer.
This is what I was talking about. This is one of those things I wouldn't have known, but he knows this.
So you don't have to hit each individual turnout. So we're on track 10. We just hit right up here, and we get a direct line right on out.
Okay. So
Okay.
It aligns a bunch of switches for you if need be.
Right, exactly. And it
That's
takes a
handy.
little bit of time here. There's a note that they're cross-wired and they're slow that way. Okay. So,
But it looks like it's clear though.
yeah.
So okay,
So I'll call up dispatch.
here comes our train.
Sorry, could you repeat?
Oh, that is pretty cool.
Yeah. And the other one's actually a real wide angle.
This doesn't work for me. The digital.
No. We get some grainy and old school negative.
We come into the yard and Wayne has set everything up.
Okay.
He knows where he's
Yeah,
going to put
let's
us.
not discuss the fact that I just
Man,
went by.
yard
We were supposed to
takes
stop
over.
and frighten.
Oh, we were?
Yeah.
Oh, you're the conductor.
Exactly.
Should I stop now? That's okay. I'll stop twice next time.
Hey, dispatch, give me authority to Jacksonville. I'm sorry, to Jacksonville and what? Top of the loop.
Oh, we know.
Awesome.
Where that is. We know where that is.
Great decision, dispatch.
Why a lower red on that? Why would there be a lower red on that? Yeah, this ought to look like a very familiar place. We have authority to hear. We're going to stop here again.
Yeah, it took us a while.
Only this time it's not. Oh, actually, last time it was Dakota making me wait too. It wasn't you.
Oh, okay, no, yeah.
Yeah. So you're off the hook this time. You're off the hook now. Okay, here we go.
Hey, dispatch, this is 215-2. We're at the top of the loop. We'd like clearance into Nauer's yard.
Oh, well, that was easy.
Okay, let's roll. Thanks a lot.
Okay, here we go.
Forgot to do that.
At this point, a lot of the operators from earlier in the session have left, so the railroad's pretty empty. That's why we're able to get away with going over track that we didn't have permission for. It's not something that would normally happen. Yeah. I wanted to mention one thing before we wrap this up, which is if we had been running a complex train, I would have been handling the controls as the engineer, and Murph would have been telling me, when to back up, where to spot cars and all that stuff as the conductor. And the reason I would choose to do it that way is because he knows the layout and operates here and knows things that I don't know. And that's what I was talking about earlier when I said it would be helpful to have someone that you know that operates on the layout to hold your hand maybe the first time or the first couple of times that you operate somewhere. Well, this particular train was just going from one end to the other or from one yard to another yard with no stops and no switching or anything like that. So we really probably didn't even need to have both of us doing it.
Yeah.
But we had fun anyway. And
Yeah.
when it comes down to it, that's really what it's about, is having fun. So I make the distinction informal when I refer to the style of operation shown in this program because the protocols are very relaxed. For example, radio chatter is far more casual than what you should expect at a more formal DTC operating session. In a more formal session, when the dispatcher grants a train authority to occupy a stretch of track, the information may be spelled out by the dispatcher letter by letter, and then the train operator might be required to repeat the order back in the same fashion. Regardless of how formal you want to be, a lot of people really enjoy DTC ops. I'd like to thank my friends at Silicon Valley Lines for being so hospitable. I hadn't really intended to operate on this visit, but when it became apparent that showing exactly how things work on camera would be the most effective way to explain it, no one even blinked. One of the best things about this community is that everyone seems to be extremely helpful, and there also seems to be a genuine sense of wanting to see new people enjoy the hobby. So this is one more example of operating on a layout with a lot of other people in a way that doesn't necessarily have to be complicated or intimidating. Operating in somewhat informal sessions like this can help you learn terminology and procedures that are applied in the more formal sessions, and it's fun at the same time. I want to remind you that this program is intended to provide basic information and to explain one more way people get together to operate on model railroads in a realistic manner. Not everyone who runs DTC will do it the exact same way. What you've seen here is simply one approach to DTC that should give you an idea of what it means and how it works in practical application. If you have an idea for a Model Railroading 101 topic, please put a comment below and subscribe now so that you don't miss anything. I also want to encourage you very strongly to visit opsig.org to learn more about operating on model railroads if you're interested. Also, did you know that you can help promote the hobby by supporting this channel on Patreon? Go to patreon.com/TSG Multimedia to learn how you can help for as little as 7 cents a day. Thanks for watching, and make it a great day.
Hi, I'm Bernard. I'm the president at Silicon Valley Lines. If you like what you've seen today, if you enjoy realistic operations, come on down and visit us. We're Silicon Valley Lines. We're based in downtown San Jose, California.
Before we go, I almost forgot. I've been framed again. Somebody tagged the building over here. I know who did it, but I just wanted to show this. Look.